Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. In this video I want to show you my new purchase from the Action shop here in Belgium. It's the 50 aqua markers from Décotime. This is a very budget friendly brand. I think I paid a little bit less than 12 euros for the 50 aqua markers. That means it's 23-24 cents per pen. And the reason why I bought these is because I am very curious, because they have the look of an alcohol marker, but it is water-based. So it means it doesn't bleed through the paper, but they don't dry as quickly. So that means that you can rip the paper if you go over them quite a few times. I mostly work with the Staedtler pigment brush pens and the Faber-Castell pit pens. They are ink-based. This is water-based, so it is a little bit of a difference. But I like the fact that it had a brush pen on the one side and a fine tip on the other side. So it gives me a little bit of a better color range when I am lacking some colors in the other sets. And because it was so cheap, and I use water-based markers all the time for basing and even a little bit for blending, in some books I want to give this box a try. So it comes in this beautiful box by Décotime, and on the other side you will see it is ink on a water-based, and you have to store them horizontally, because then the ink flow is evenly for the whole marker. The same thing with alcohol markers, by the way. And they give you a tray to store them in. So if we're going to open up the box, I already did that because I swatched them already, because that's the most boring part in the video, I think. You get these triangular shaped pens, which I really like. So they are numbered, they have color names, which is a plus. The caps of the pens don't always fit 100% with the colors of the pen, so I advise you to swatch them out. You have the alcohol markers of Décotime as well, and I noticed that the number and the name is the same on the water-based markers and the alcohol markers, so I have them both. So the alcohol markers, when I bought those 2 years ago, they had a black barrel, and they were square. So it was very hard to put the caps on and off on the alcohol markers. Now the aqua markers are triangular, and I noticed that the caps really click a little bit better. So for me that's a plus, because otherwise your hand hurts when you're putting the cap on and off all the time. So you have one side with the fine tip. This is the fine tip. And then on the other side you have a beautiful brush nib. So I think the brush tips are very delicate, so don't push too hard when you're coloring with the Décotime brush pens, but if you color with them carefully, they last you quite a while. Okay, so we have the color names on both sides of the pen, which is very good. It's also, you cannot switch the alcohol markers with the aqua markers, because you see that they have a different color, and it's on the barrel itself. If you look inside of the box, you see there is a black tray, so you can put this out of the box and store them horizontally on your desk, or you can leave it in the box. I'm going to leave it in the box because it stores a little bit more convenient for me, but when I see there are more colors I can buy, I definitely will, and then I'm going to store them in a different way. I bought the 50 sets, but I did not find how many colors they are already. But I think there are more than 50, but you can buy them in a tray with 10 pens, with a set with 30 pens, a set with 50 pens, and then some separate colors when they run out. But unfortunately, you have to be lucky to find them in the stores and you cannot buy them online. So that's the only downside. But for what I want to do with them, it's perfectly fine. And then on the inside, I made a little bit of a swatch sheet. If I can grab it. Okay. So if I put those on the side, these are the colors. So I think the color range for the blues and the greens are very good for reds and oranges as well. I think I miss a little bit of a lighter purple maybe, and maybe a dark red. And I am maybe missing a little bit of a pale turquoise, and I am lacking a very light gray. That's the only thing. And the browns, we have like 5 browns. I would replace some of these reds with a little bit of a brownish color, but for the rest, for like nature colors and so on, it's perfect. So these are the colors inside of the box. And then we're going to put them to the test. There is one book I use my water-based markers in all the time because the paper is very good for them. It's the Dromenvanger by Tomislav Tomic. So this book is very detailed. So I like to color as much as possible with my water-based markers, and then I go on top of that with some coloring pencils. But some elements are so small you cannot even shade with coloring pencils. So then I try to add my water-based markers a little bit. So yeah, we will see what it's going to do. So I have already colored a page recently. It was this one. And on the castle, I didn't use any coloring pencil. That is actually water-based markers blended together. But it was the Staedtler pigment brush pens. They are ink-based. It's China ink, so it's a little bit of a different consistency. But this is what I like to do with the water-based markers as well on a different page. So I use the water-based markers in detailed books as well, like this. So this is a tree, and then I shade it a little bit with the water-based markers with some dotting. Like the grass is all water-based markers, so no coloring pencils. The same thing for the bricks. So it speeds up the process and it gives you a very vibrant effect. So I am doing a body color. We have not actually a deadline, but we're aiming for the end of February, but if it is March, it's good as well. And this is the page we are going to do. So this is a very detailed page. I think I mapped out my color palettes, and I'm going to try to color some trees and see what the water-based markers can do. Okay, I zoomed you in a little bit more, so I'm going to try to color the trees over here. I want the flowers with the trees with the flowers in it. I want them in a bright green color. So I'm going to take these 3 colors and we will see how they perform on this paper. So you cannot blend on every paper. If the paper is very porous, so it takes up the pigment very fast, then you're not going to be able to blend a lot with water-based markers. If you have the book like Dromenvanger or maybe Fairy Tales and Folklore by Emily Liedehal-Oberg, the paper is very smooth and the paper is not very saturated with the pigment, then it's going to be much easier. So try this out with some different books. You have to try it out before you know which paper is good for this technique and which doesn't. I do not use a separate coloring book. I just go straight in with my new supplies and we will see what we are going to do. So I'm going to try the brush side first, and I'm going to take the lightest color and the middle color, and then I'm just going to see how they will perform. I am going over the flowers, because I'm going to put them in again with some paint marker or something. Okay, it blends a little bit. So I'm going to start with the darkest color right now. These pens need a little bit more time to dry. So don't go in straight away on top of that with another color. They are not supposed to blend. So I'm just going to see if the paper takes it, yes or no. And we can always smooth it out with a little bit of coloring pencil. But this is a little bit of a faster process to color the trees. And I think it is a lot more fun. You can lay down some color very fast. Okay, so I have to say the Staedtler pigment brush pens are much more blendable on this paper than these AQUAMARKERS. But I think the brush pen is very good for bigger areas, so the streaking isn't that obvious. I'm going to do this one on the side as well. And just have fun. Just try to experiment. This is not blending very well, so I'm going to smooth it out with some coloring pencils. No big deal, but it's going to speed up the process. Okay, so I'm going to try to add the darkest part on the trees as well. So I started off with this one. So I'm just going to add a little bit of shadow. Like this. I think a brush nib is always nice. If it is a water-based marker or an alcohol marker, I think it is always a little bit easier to work with than a chisel nib. So you don't have to smooth this out with coloring pencil, it's your own choice. You can leave it a little bit more abstract if you want. I think I'm going to leave it like this, because the trees are a little bit more abstract. If it is like the dog or the skin, maybe I'm going to put some pencil, because I like that to be smooth, but this I really don't mind the texture a little bit, like this. I am doing some dabbing motions because I think that goes a little bit better. You can always go in again, but just let it dry, okay? Like the caps, they go on very smoothly, they click, so you know they are completely closed. And now we're going to check the back side, and I see nothing. A little bit of ghosting, but I did it with 3 layers and very fast after each other. So if I wait a little bit more, I think there is nothing coming through. Okay, I'm going to leave that for like 2 minutes, and I will be back to you with the paint marker for the trees. Okay, so I let it dry for like 2 minutes. So as you see, the ink wasn't dry when I closed the book, but that's no big deal. I'm going to cover that anyway, but just be aware that you have to let it dry for a couple of minutes. Don't close the book directly, especially when you're doing some layering. I'm going to use a paint marker. This is from the Action Store as well. So it just has paint marker, so no numbers or something on top of that. So you can number them maybe with a round sticker here on the cap or maybe over here. And it was a pack with some color families. So this is the 16 paint markers, and the colors are some pinks and some purples. So as you see, it is different sizes. So you have the small one and you have some bigger ones. I have the bigger one, so I think it is this one. It's a shame that they're not all the same nib, but I really don't care. So this is the bigger nib, and I'm going to add in my flowers with the paint marker. I only own the blue, the yellow, and the pink set. There is another set as well, but I wasn't able to find it. I don't use paint markers a lot, but I have to take them out a little bit more. Like for these small detailing, I think it is very handy. Otherwise, I had to color around all these small flowers, and it was a tedious job. I think this is a lot faster. And now the bigger tip is coming in handy. So these paint markers were very cheap as well. I think it was like I think €4 for 16 paint markers or something like this. I think that looks very good. And maybe we're going to do the trees as well. So how I like to use them the most is just straight coloring. So I like to base everything and then go on top of that with some coloring pencils, but for detailed pages I make an exception. Otherwise it takes me like 1 month to color one page, and I don't have the patience to do that. And then I don't have anything to show you at the end of the month, of course. And then you can go on top of that with a darker marker. I'm going to use the fine tip for this one. So maybe a little bit on the right side of the tree. So you actually can color a whole page just with water-based markers. Don't be afraid because they're streaky, work with it. Okay, I'm going to zoom you out so you can see it as a whole page. like this. So this is actually what we've colored. So because it was very zoomed in, you saw all the flaws, but when you're going to color the whole page, you're not going to see all the areas that aren't very smooth. So this is actually quite some relaxing coloring for me, even if it is a very, very detailed book and everybody is scared of starting a page in it. I really like it because it just gives you the opportunity to work with your markers and have a very nice result without using any pencils. Okay, so this was actually what I wanted to show you guys. If you have any further questions, please let me know in the comment section, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!